Hello everyone, this is Xander here, and I want to share a very special episode with you today, generated using AI. This is the show with Xander. Let's listen to this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. One thing we all struggle with is that feeling of being bogged down, right? Like, how do we get more done in less time? Well, today's deep dive is all about tackling that challenge head on through the power of automation.
That's right. And we're zeroing in on Microsoft Process Mining and Power Automate. It's really fascinating stuff.
Definitely. We're going to break it all down, explain how these tools can streamline your work, get rid of those annoying repetitive tasks, and really help you boost your output. Think of this as your cheat sheet to understanding automation without getting lost in all the technical jargon.
Absolutely. We're going to explore how this impacts individuals who want to be more productive, but also how organizations can use these tools for some really big wins. And yeah, we'll even touch on how Microsoft stacks up against some of the other players out there like UiPath and Celonis, and delve into the whole AI side of things with AI Builder and Copilot. Now, before we get too deep, just a quick heads up. We're dealing with tech that's moving at warp speed, right? So some of what we discuss might be based on info that's been generated or summarized using AI and resources straight from Microsoft. We're aiming for accuracy, of course, but it's always a good idea to double-check things on official Microsoft platforms to be absolutely sure.
Definitely a good point.
So with that out of the way, our main goal today is to really understand how Microsoft's tools for process and task mining, particularly within the Power Platform, can make a real difference for you, whether you're flying solo or part of a larger team. So let's start with the basics. Process mining and task mining. What are we even talking about here?
Okay, so at the heart of it, both of these are about getting a super clear picture of how work actually happens, and it's all based on data. Now, process mining looks at those digital breadcrumbs, those traces left behind in your IT systems, like logs, data trails, all that good stuff from your core business applications. And by analyzing this data, you can visually reconstruct your processes.
So instead of just guessing about how work flows, you get to see the actual path, right?
Exactly. And that's where you can spot those bottlenecks, those detours, the inefficiencies you might not even realize are there. Now, task mining works hand in hand with this, but it zooms in a little more on the individual level.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, it captures the specifics of how people interact with their computers. Every click, every keystroke, what applications they use, all of that. And by analyzing this data, you can figure out ways to improve those specific, often repetitive tasks.
So it's like getting a double view, right? The big picture from process mining and then the individual details with task mining.
Exactly. And you need both for true understanding.
Makes sense. Now, let's talk about why this matters for productivity and automation. Why is all this detail so important if we want to get more done?
Well, think of it this way. This combined approach gives you an X-ray vision of your processes. You see exactly where time is wasted, where errors pop up, and that's gold for figuring out where automation can make the biggest impact. Because without this data, you're basically shooting in the dark. You might spend forever making changes that don't address the real problems.
I can see how that would be frustrating.
Very much so. But with these insights, you can laser focus your automation efforts. For example, Microsoft talks about how their tool, Copilot, in Power Automate Process Mining, can help identify these key insights super fast. We're talking 3 or 4 clicks versus, potentially weeks or months of manual analysis.
That speed is a game changer for sure. Could you give us a real-world example of process mining in action just to bring it home?
Sure, let's say a company regularly buys a ton of office supplies. Like, imagine ordering 30,000 pens. Now, on paper, the process seems simple. You create a purchase order, it gets approved, the supplier gets it, they ship the pens, you get an invoice, you pay it. Boom, done.
Seems straightforward.
Right. But then process mining comes in, and it's like, hold on. Maybe purchase orders above a certain amount need extra approvals, and that's causing delays. Maybe different departments use different codes for the same pen, creating a mess in the system. Maybe the supplier sends incomplete shipments sometimes, and then you have this chain of emails and manual fixes.
Oh, I see. It gets complicated fast.
Right. But by visualizing how those purchase orders actually move, all the variations, all the exceptions, the company can clearly see where the roadblocks are, and those are prime spots for automation.
That makes perfect sense. So we've got a handle on what process and task mining are and why they're important for pinpointing those productivity drains. Now, let's talk about how Microsoft Power Automate comes in and helps us take action. What are its strengths, especially compared to other tools out there?
One of the biggest things Power Automate has going for it is its incredible integration within the Microsoft ecosystem. It's like it's built to play nicely with everything. Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, Dynamics 365, you name it. I mean, a lot of companies are already heavily reliant on these tools, so it just makes sense.
Seamless integration, definitely a big
Well,
plus.
for sure. But it doesn't stop there. Power Automate also has this huge library of pre-built API connectors, over 1,000 of them. So it can talk to all sorts of other apps and services, even stuff like Adobe, Google Drive, Salesforce, SAP. You can even build custom connectors if you need to.
Wow, that's a lot of flexibility. So it can really connect the dots across a whole range of systems.
Right, and that's key for automating processes that span multiple platforms. You don't want to be stuck with a bunch of workarounds.
Has Microsoft put any numbers to this? Like, can they show how this integration and Power Automate as a whole actually benefit businesses?
Actually, they have. Forrester, the consulting firm, did a study on this, a Total Economic Impact Study, or TEI for short. Microsoft commissioned it and came out in July 2024. They looked at a hypothetical company with 30,000 employees and $10 billion in annual revenue over 3 years. And the results were pretty impressive.
What did they find?
Well, they estimated a 248% return on investment. So for every dollar invested, the company would get back almost $3.50. It's a huge ROI. And the net present value was calculated at $39.85 million. Pretty significant financial impact. They even broke it down into different categories to show where those gains came from.
That's interesting. What were some of the areas where they saw the biggest impact?
One big one was end-user time savings from RPA, or robotic process automation. They estimated that at $13.2 million in present value. That's all about automating those tedious rule-based tasks that eat up so much of people's time. But get this, they found even bigger savings, like $31.3 million in present value, from extending automation to complete end-to-end processes. That's where Power Automate and Power Apps really shine together.
Power Apps, that's for building custom applications, right?
That's right, and the combination is really powerful. This study also found savings from reduced developer time for building automations, about $2 million, and even savings from being able to ditch those old, expensive legacy systems, about $9.5 million.
Wow, that's a lot of efficiency and cost savings. I'm curious, did the study mention why they saw such a big impact?
Yeah, they interviewed a bunch of people, and a common theme was that the old automation tools were just a pain to use. A lot of them required coding knowledge, and they weren't very good at integrating with other systems. So you ended up with these data silos and manual steps to bridge the gaps. Power Automate, on the other hand, was praised for being more user-friendly and for that tight integration we talked about earlier. People were able to automate things that they just couldn't before, and that integration with Power Apps was a big deal for building those custom solutions and getting more people on board.
So it's not just about the automation itself, it's about how accessible and well-connected the tools are. Now, we've touched on AI, and I know Power Automate has this feature called AI Builder. How does that come into play for productivity?
AI Builder is all about adding a layer of intelligence to your workflows. You can use pre-built AI models or even create your own, and that opens up a whole world of possibilities. For example, you could use AI Builder to analyze the sentiment of customer emails, so you can automatically route them to the right team. Or you could use it to pull key info from invoices and automatically fill in the fields in your accounting system.
So instead of having a human do all that data entry, the AI can handle it.
Exactly. And that not only saves time, but also reduces the chance of human error.
Makes sense. And then we have Copilot, which seems to be taking that AI integration even further.
Yeah, Copilot is a big deal for Power Automate and for the entire Power Platform, really. It's this AI-powered assistant that's designed to make automation easier and more intuitive at every step.
So instead of having to figure out all the complex steps of a workflow, you could describe what you want to automate in plain English.
That's the idea. You tell Copilot what you want to do, and it suggests actions, connectors, even whole flows. Within process mining, you can just ask Copilot to show you the most time-consuming activities or the biggest bottlenecks, and it can pull those insights right out of the data. And when you're building flows, either cloud flows or desktop flows, Copilot can help you create and refine them, even generating code snippets for those trickier actions. It could even answer your questions about Power Automate right there in the interface.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. So it's not just for the tech-savvy folks anymore. Anyone could potentially use these tools.
Exactly. And that's a huge step forward. Now, you mentioned cloud flows and desktop flows. Could you break down the difference for those who might not be familiar?
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes the terminology can be a bit confusing.
So cloud flows, also known as digital process automation, or DPA, those are all about automating things in the cloud. They connect cloud apps, services, and data using APIs. So think about things like getting an email, creating a file, or something happening at a scheduled time. Those can trigger a cloud flow.
So it's about automating interactions between different online services.
Right, they're perfect for those modern digital workflows. Now, desktop flows, or robotic process automation, RPA, are a different beast. They're all about automating tasks on your actual desktop, often within applications that don't have modern APIs or are considered legacy systems.
Like those older programs that companies still rely on.
Exactly. Desktop flows work by recording what you do on your screen, your clicks, keystrokes, all of that. And then they can replay those actions to automate the task. So it's a great way to bridge the gap between those older systems and the newer, more cloud-based world.
You mentioned T-Mobile earlier. Did they use desktop flows for something specific?
Yeah, after they merged with Sprint, they had all these back-end systems that didn't talk to each other easily, no APIs to work with. So they used Power Automate for desktop to automate a lot of their data processing and reconciliation. The results were pretty amazing. They processed 11 times more requests in real time, sped up their processing time by a factor of 12, and practically eliminated human data entry errors. And that freed up their analysts to focus on more strategic stuff.
That's a great example of how RPA can make a real difference. Now, you have these two types of flows, cloud flows and desktop flows. Can you use them together?
Absolutely. In fact, that's where you get into what's called hyperautomation. It's about combining the power of cloud flows and desktop flows to create these really comprehensive automations. So you can connect those modern API-driven apps with the older UI-dependent ones, creating a smooth end-to-end process.
So it's like bridging the gap between the old and the new.
Exactly. There's a great example of this with Komatsu Australia. They streamlined their entire invoice processing workflow using this approach. They use cloud flows to keep an eye on their Outlook inbox for invoices and save them to a SQL database. And then they use desktop flows to work with their older accounting system, pulling out the necessary info and processing the payment. That combo of DPA and RPA saved them a ton of time and reduced manual work across the board.
That sounds super efficient. So it seems like Power Automate has a lot to offer when it comes to boosting productivity. But we've got to acknowledge the other players in the game, right? We hear a lot about companies like UiPath and Celonis. How does Microsoft stack up against the competition?
Yeah, it's a fair point. UiPath and Celonis are definitely major players in this space, and they have some really powerful tools for task and process mining and automation. UiPath task mining and Celonis task mining in particular are very strong in those areas.
And are there other options out there?
Oh, absolutely. You have open source options like ProM, commercial tools like Disco by Fluxicon, and other well-established players like ARIS process mining.
So it's a pretty diverse landscape. What would you say makes Power Automate stand out? What are its unique strengths?
Well, a lot of these tools are really good at what they do, and some offer incredible depth and customization options for those really specific needs. But for me, Power Automate's biggest strengths are its tight integration with the Microsoft ecosystem, which we talked about earlier, and its increasing focus on AI. I mean, having AI Builder and Copilot built right into the platform makes it so much easier to use and unlocks those intelligent automation capabilities in a way that's really accessible.
So it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all things automation within the Microsoft world.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Plus, there are tons of resources out there to help you navigate this landscape.
Right.
Like the Show with Xander often does deep dives into different automation platforms and offers comparisons, which would be really helpful.
Definitely a good resource. So for our listeners who are interested in exploring this further, what would be your advice for getting started with Microsoft Process Mining and Power Automate? Where should they begin?
Well, for process mining and optimization, Copilot in Power Automate process mining is a great starting point. You can get some really quick insights without having to be a tech whiz. And for building automations, I would definitely recommend checking out the natural language capabilities in Copilot for both Cloud Flows and Power Automate for desktop. Just tell it what you want to automate, and it will guide you from there. It's surprisingly intuitive.
And what about resources from Microsoft themselves? Any specific recommendations for learning more?
Oh, tons. Microsoft has a wealth of information online. They have guided tours, detailed documentation, all sorts of stuff on the Power Platform. Those are great for hands-on learning. And there's some really useful PDFs you can download. One is called Boost Productivity, Automate Emails, Documents, and Images with Microsoft AI Builder. That one's super practical, shows you how to use AI for specific tasks. There's another called PDF Copilot in Power Automate that goes into detail about all those AI-powered features we talked about. And then there's PDF End-to-End Automation, which probably lays out strategies for automating entire workflows across different systems. And of course, PDF Power Automate Overview gives you a good general intro to the platform.
Sounds like a good place to start. So, as we wrap up our deep dive, what are the key takeaways about Microsoft Process Mining and Power Automate for boosting productivity?
The main thing is that these tools, especially with AI Builder and Copilot, offer a real opportunity to enhance productivity. And that's true for individuals and organizations alike. They do this by giving you insights into your workflows, streamlining those repetitive tasks, improving efficiency, and connecting seamlessly with all sorts of systems. And the research, like that Forrester study we discussed, shows that these tools can have a real impact on your bottom line and your overall productivity.
So, for our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you a solid understanding of these tools and how they can transform the way you work. We wanted to give you those aha moments without getting bogged down in technicalities.
And as a final thought, I would encourage you to think about your own workday. Think about all those manual, repetitive tasks you do. How could process and task mining help you identify those hidden bottlenecks and opportunities for automation? Imagine what you could do with all that extra time and energy. We hope this inspires you to explore these tools and start your own automation journey.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Thank you, everyone who listened to this episode. I hope that you found this very informative, that you also felt that you like to share this with family and friends via different social networks. Remember to like, subscribe, follow. Leave a comment. Thank you for your time today, and until next time, this was the Show with Xander, a special edition. Until next time, ciao.